Get them brackets in.
You gotta take an inch to get a yard.
That wasn't shit talking. That was fact talking. I can still get out there and show you.
We lead off every show with what we like to call a moment in time. And today's moment in time, Sheed, we're going back to 1995. The date is March 16th.
It was first round. Oh no, this is the Final Four. Yeah, this is
Final Four. We are in the Kingdom, my friend, as we are watching UNC play the Arkansas Razorbacks in front of a colossal crowd there in Seattle. This is the entire game. It's on YouTube. It's on YouTube if you ever wanted to watch it, by the way. Stackhouse, first play of the game, I think, turned the ball over and rolled an ankle there. That's not good. I forgot about that. But
it was that thigh. Corliss needed him in the thigh trying to get good position, and it was that thigh.
Right, he's banged up. He goes straight to the bench. Wow.
Yeah.
Now I have an excuse why we lost this game. Now I do. If Stackhouse gets banged up gets a Charlie horse in the first couple of minutes. Was that Corliss Williamson?
Yep. My guy, Big Nasty. That's my guy right there. This is a good game, though. This is out here at the Kingdom in Seattle. Wow, I'll probably say one of the last few times that they played basketball in that arena.
This was not where the Sonics played. This is the Mariners, the Kingdom. This is Griffey. Yes. Yeah, this is Griffey and the Randy Johnson 90s Mariners here. But
it wasn't where the Sonics play at. But it was a great game. The atmosphere was crazy. I'm gonna tell you that. You know, the whole city. First of all, Seattle is a good basketball city anyway. You know, they have good basketball up there as far as colleges, and of course, back in the day when they had the Sonics, you know, you had GP, you had Rain Man, Sean Kent. You know, you had a lot of good players up there. So the area itself, they welcomed us with open arms. All four teams. I think this year was us, Arkansas, UCLA, and I want to say Oklahoma State with Big Country. I think. But man, it was great. I loved it. You know, it was. I would probably say one of the times in my collegiate career that I wish I could have again.
That leads me into my next question here, and it's going to be, can you tell me about playing in the Final Four as opposed to just a normal basketball gym and what's associated with that?
Oh, man, it's definitely the atmosphere itself, you feel it. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you have a big-time game like what this is. The crowd, to be honest, man, I really didn't pay too much attention to. Because once you're in a game, once the game starts, you know, you're more locked in, focusing on that hardwood, on what's in that 94 feet in front of you. So, you know, my focus then was make sure that Corliss didn't get nothing off, Dwight Stewart as well. So that's not do it right to him. That's pretty much what I was feeling when I was out there. It was great. Playing against great opponents. I think they were 2 years removed from winning it themselves. I think 2 or 3, one of the two, from winning it themselves with what they call it, 60 minutes of hell or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Again, you're not in the NBA yet. This is the biggest game that you have probably played in your entire life up to this point because it's the Final Four and you haven't been drafted. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of curious, do you have different nerves? I mean, you had played in big games. You had always been the best player on the court usually, but now you're amongst equal talent in this platform, in this stadium. It's not even an arena. It's a stadium.
Fact.
Running out there onto the floor, does it take 5 to 10 minutes to shake the nerves out, get the adrenaline replacing those just natural feelings of anxiety? Or is it just business as usual for someone like you?
No, you definitely got to get used to the setting. You know, you have way more fans, you know, opposing and cheering for you. So you definitely got to get used to the setting. And as you mentioned, you know, you don't have no wall or that set of bleachers that's usually behind the baskets. These bleachers were they were way out there. So yeah, you had to get used to that depth perception when you're shooting your jump shots and your foul shots, and the lighting as well. Because sometimes, again, that lighting in there is used for baseball. So you're talking about a whole different game with shadows and all that stuff. So that's why it's important to go out there and get a good warm up.
That's really important. Now I'm thinking of why shooting field goal percentage in the bubble when they were playing in that tiny little ballroom down in Disney World, no fans, just a back wall. People were shooting the lights out. And these Final Fours and championship games in the NCAA are traditionally very low scoring because of things like nerves, but also more importantly, depth perception. So I want to ask you, just to get it on the record, is it easier to shoot in a stadium like this or in a basketball arena or practice gym that you are more familiar with?
I don't know. I guess for me, it was a little 50-50 because as long as you focus on your main focus is the back of the rim. So the back of that orange cylinder. And yeah, the depth perception definitely plays a big part in it because when you're playing in big stadiums, you're dealing with more from different angles, a black background. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so far back and they only seat people on like that first floor or that first floor level. So you got to get used to that, the different angles, as I said, the lighting. But when you're in that smaller gym, more that collegiate gym, yeah, you're so used to seeing, like if I'm at the foul line right now, and let's say I was playing Clemson, I'm so used to seeing that orange, or if we in Carolina, seeing all that light blue behind that basket, but not here. Not here. You got everything on the side. It's huge, but it was a great game, great experience, man.
And I'm curious as to what is the pep talk from Coach Dean Smith in the locker room before you start running out in front of 100,000 people? Is it different than all of the games prior that season? Is it just the same type of speech, or am I imagining a world that Al Pacino in Any Given Sunday is saying there, you gotta take an inch to get a yard, and one of those emotional speeches? Is he trying to get you jacked up through the roof, or is he trying to keep you level-headed? What does he say? But none of us can be in that locker room, but you were. And I'm curious as to what, is transmitted to you.
Coach Smith was a calm, cool, collective guy, man. He didn't raise his voice a lot. He for sure didn't curse, nowhere near cursing. But he just made it simple, and yeah, to me, and I guess for the guys on the team, yeah, it was a big-ass game. Well, except for a few of the guys who was there 2 years ago. The previous year when they won it. But he was calm, man. He didn't say nothing out of the ordinary. It was just like, all right, we know what we got to do. Let's go out here, make sure we block out, make sure we play together, play smart, play hard, play as a team. It was nothing different than what he said from game one.
That seems to be the common theme or the common denominator with anyone that has played for Coach Smith, is no matter what, it was a game against Duke in the Final Four or an exhibition at the Dean Dome or the Carmichael Center, wherever you guys played in at the time, all was the same. It was business as usual, and it sounds like that level-headedness, you're the University of North Carolina, go out there and play like it, kind of was ultimately the message there. And you guys go about your work in a professional way, which is a rarity for college basketball. These Cinderellas and these upsets happen, and people don't know what to do with their hands. But Carolina with Dean Smith, it's always just this is just a day ending in Y, is I think what Rasheed is telling us there. So Jerry Stackhouse is still on the bench right now. He's still banged up, and I want to, at the point in this game that we're watching back here, and I do want to segue this into Jerry now in the year 2023, coaching Vanderbilt, had an awesome moment from over the weekend during the SEC tournament in which they beat Kentucky. He's up there, he's given like an interview up on the podium after, and boy, it got dusty in here when he was giving the actual post-game press conference. He had his kid next to him, and he's improved the Vanderbilt's record significantly every year since taking over, where I think he had 1 win or 0 wins in the SEC. And that kid, because he was his first recruit, that's what March is all about. That's what college basketball is all about. And for Jerry to kind of have this kid that almost in a way has become a family member to him, Jerry as well as anyone on this planet. And I would just, love to hear your feelings and thoughts about how this SEC tournament and season for Jerry Stackhouse went as a coach.
Oh man, I'm happy for my brethren. Just as you mentioned, to see him coming from year one up until now, him coming back here to Chapel Hill, he still has family up here in the area as well. So him coming back here, as just linking up for a beer or two, and he's just talking like, man, we got to do this, I got to do that, da 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 da. Playing this is hard. Going against these guys, that guy. So, I've heard some of his war cries when the big games, and he cussing some of his players out, he cussing the refs out, he cussing the opposing coach out, but overall, you see what type of coach you have. You have a coach who's emphatic and he's all about the players. You see that at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's not about me at all. Like you just mentioned, he had his young fella up there on a press conference stage with him, and just let him know, like, look, this is my first recruit. Now here he is. He's a senior. It's a special moment. That whole March Madness, and again, it's only one time a year, and it's one and done. It's one and done. So the way that he's feeling right now, I know he's on top of the world. And then just think, first, he has an SEC title. Second, to beat Kentucky. Here it is. John Calipari used to recruit Stack. So now here it is. You're playing against a fellow coach now who recruited you when you were in high school. That has to have a little special moment, a little special feeling right there inside as well. And for it to be your first SEC title or your first conference title, in any conference, don't matter, to go against someone like John Calipari's stature and come away with the dub, hey, that's awesome, man. That's all right with me. I'll let you know that now, and I tip my hat to that Vanderbilt crew, man. They went on a hell of a run the second half of the season in the SEC and in the NCAA period. They went on a hell of a run, man.
Is there anything that he's doing with those kids that you were at practice with him, God knows how many times? If I gave you a second, I bet Jerry Stackhouse is doing this with these kids. Is there anything that comes to mind that
Yeah.
Jerry behind the scenes, like he's got to have these kids doing blank?
He getting in their ass. Bottom line, he getting in their ass. He's holding them accountable for their part of the team. It's like, look, I got you out here. First of all, I bought you. I gave you a scholarship. So I got to think that you could do something. Second of all, you got to prove to me that you're worth that scholarship. He's bringing the best out in all these kids. And, one of the key things that I think really helps Stack out with his coaching is the fact that I can still get out there and show you. A lot of college coaches can't do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If no matter what it is, like if you got a player who think he's hot shit and all right,
check ball.
let me go ahead and humble you real quick. Yeah, check ball.
Right.
Come on, let me humble you real quick. Boom.
Wow.
Sit down. You can't do that with an older coach. With Stack, I've seen him do it. I've seen him challenge guys in shooting contests, one-on-one, doing the little drills and everything. That's what makes the guys better. That's what makes them want to fight for that coach. Because if he's doing the same thing I'm doing, went through the same things I'm doing, like, yo, man, I rock with Coach, man. He's a dog. I rock with him. You know what? That's what's going to make that kid dive on the floor a couple extra more times, make him go all out. No, I'm not tired, Coach. He's going to bleed his heart out for you. And that's what you need, and that's what they're doing for Stack right now.
I bet he has done a lot of humbling while head coach of Vanderbilt. These kids, when he took over again, they were the movie Major League with the Cleveland team that couldn't win a single game and still out there acting like they own the place. Give me the ball. Like I'm a 45, 50 or whatever year old man. I'm about to bust your ass in front of everyone, in front of your girlfriend, in front of the school. And to your point, so you're now on the coaching side of the March Madness spectrum. I don't know what to call it. I guess you were a player back in the day, and people watching this again tend to skew younger because we're doing a show for the internet, and as a result, there may be some aspiring basketball players out there that are considering. We've spoken about this at length. If I'm good, should I be doing AAU? Should I go to the G League? Should I go international? But if they choose college, because that's where your experience is, I would love to hear from you what it's like to be a player on a blue chip collegiate program in North Carolina, that March Madness, if you make the Final Four, takes weeks from the ACC tournament all the way to when you go to the Kingdom, if you make it that far. You're also still technically a student at the time. You're traveling between cities. You're doing practice. You're not old enough to be going out to the clubs and drinking alcohol. So can you take me through what it's like, the experience of the moment you get on the bus to board a plane? Like, do you study it all? Do they have study halls? When's practice? Do you get distractions? Are you trying to sneak out of your hotel? I'd love to hear all of that because I simply don't know.
Well, for me, I only can speak for myself with it. No, I didn't do nothing, anything to jeopardize, one, my playing time, and two, my team's name, as far as, us being Carolina themselves. I don't want to jeopardize that. So, no, I just chilled out. I just stayed with family during that whole March Madness time. And, yeah, you definitely have study hall. It's ain't nothing changed. Nothing changed just because you're in the city. Now, remember, you're also there just for that weekend. So it's either like that Thursday, Saturday, or that Friday, Sunday. So you're only there for the weekend, and you back in class Monday morning. So, yeah, your study hall hours stay the same. Most guys, they try to get the work done beforehand, especially if you know that you're leaving, like, all right, we won last week, or the tournament starting this week, so now we got to go to Florida. So, okay, let me go ahead and try to get as much work as I can done before we leave. And then that way you got the weekend just to focus on basketball and don't necessarily have to too much worry about schoolwork or projects. But overall, I mean, it was fun to sit there and, first of all, my freshman year, playing with the national championship team. Like, that right there was overwhelming itself. Like, just a couple months ago, I'm sitting here watching Eric Montrose and Derek Phelps and Brian Reese, Donald Williams. I'm sitting here watching these guys on TV against Michigan. And you fast forward 2-3 months later, now I'm in practice with these dudes. So to get over that, it was like, all right, wow, boom, bang. And then that following year, when we did go to the Final Four, it was just a whole overall amazing feeling from the time of the ACC tournament. And, we came up short. I think Wake Forest won that year, my sophomore year. We came up short. But just that whole thing to, like, all right, we sitting in front of the TV like, all right, where we going? Where we going? We going to the West Coast? We going to the Midwest? We going up north? We going to top side? Where we going? So then when it comes out, boom, you're like, all right, bet. And it's fun, especially for me. I've never been. That was my first time ever going to Seattle. That was like one of the longest flights that I ever took at that time. I'm still in high school. Well, not high school, but I'm still a teenager, I'm like about 18, 19 years old. So it was definitely a hell of an experience. And just to take it all in, man, I wish we would have had these back then. I definitely would have documented a whole lot more than just up here with this film. So
Well,
it's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure. Let me tell you that, because it only comes once in your life. NBA titles, the longer you play in the NBA, the more chances you got to win it. But in college, you only got 4 years or less to win the title.
Yeah, first of all, these things are a blessing and a curse, because the blessing is it's technology you could have documented, but it's a curse because you become attached to it. I guess by not having it, you were able more to take in the moment. And as a result, this is why people love hearing stories from Rasheed Wallace, because you lived in the moment when you didn't have the ability other than a Polaroid to pull out and like, oh, this is what Seattle looks like. Now, I want to ask a follow-up, because you were Selection Sunday, 1995. There were no cell phones. There was no Twitter. There was no leaks from Woj about who's playing who. You're sitting there watching it unveiled to you, like to the rest of the world, the same way all the people are. So you just said before, like, ooh, who we playing? Who did? Yeah. Are you looking for the best matchup? Are you looking to play in the most fun city? What you guys sitting there? What are you rooting for? Do you want to be local to Carolina?
For me, it was the matchup. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. Local, if we had to go out here to California, whatever. To me, it didn't matter. My first thought was, all right, whoever we play in this first round, they're gonna get it. Bottom line. And then you get to looking at who else is in your bracket. So it's like, all right, let's say, we might have some other powerhouse schools, maybe Arizona or Kentucky or, a UCLA. But at the time when I was in school, those were powerhouse schools. So like, you looking like, oh yeah, if we beat these two games, match up against them in the in the 16, or we do this and that. So you definitely get excited about it and everything. Like, oh man, we've been watching them on Sports Center all year. You've been watching them. Maybe they might have been in a conference in the Midwest or even out there on the West Coast. So us East Coast guys, then it's 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock when that game is still going on. So we pretty much sleep, getting ready for class or something. But now you see it on Sports Center in the morning. Oh, damn, they blew them out. So you like, oh, yeah, we get to play these dudes? Let's go. Let's run it.
I want to know, before we even talk about this Carolina team in 2023 specifically, I'm going to stay on the topic of you being back at college, because at some point you lost this game in the Final Four. It's a devastating moment. You guys go back to the locker room. Some of you are going to turn pro. Some of you are going to go on to be accountants, and some people are going to return to the team. I want to know what the locker room is like when the season ends.
Well, for me, during the college days, when we lost to that game right there we showed earlier, when we lost to Arkansas, coach came in, he gave his spiel. He shook the hands of the upperclassmen, everything, and the locker room was quiet. It was quiet. It was quiet because guys gave their all. Some guys was crying, but guys gave their all. And that's when it really hurts, because you could play on a team where a couple guys, now let's just say we would have had 2 or 3 guys in that locker room and were like, man, I'm glad this shit over, man. Shit, I wasn't getting no time anyway. You got guys like that out there. Yeah. But for that particular case on that Carolina team, everybody in that locker room was hurt after that game. I was hurt. Stack was hurt. Jeff Touche McGinnis was hurt. Donna Will, we all was hurt, man. It was like, damn. Then you start the Brian McKnights. I shoulda, coulda, woulda. You know what I'm saying, man? If I would have got this rebound, or if I would have made that shot, I could have did this. I could have did that. That's when that runs through your mind. But it's after that loss, man, a loss of that caliber, it's total silence. It should be. On a team that went out there and gave it their all and fought for their coach and fought for each other, it's going to be total silence, bro. Total silence.
And I'm thinking about
a long bus ride, quiet, or a plane ride, wherever you at, it's going to be quiet.
And I'm thinking about the walk-ons at the end of the bench that, are with you every day, multiple hours a day. You see them more than you see your own family. And for you, Rasheed, and some of the Jerry Stackhouse and some of those names that you just mentioned, McKinnis, you're moving on to bigger things. You got to hire an agent. You got to prepare for the draft while they're going back to class. And that may be the last time that they see you. It's just a very life hits you hard moment, I think, for teams, because you have your NBA players, but then the guys that you didn't mention there, I'm sure they would love to stay in touch with all the guys, and I'm sure you do to an extent, but it just feels like it stops. It's over. And for them, what's next? Like their basketball playing career may have just ended completely. That's a lot to take in,
For a lot of guys, it has, walk on and some scholarships. A lot of guys, it has that collegiate game is their last game. A couple guys I played with for my 2 years at Carolina, some of them went on to play pro in the NBA and overseas, but a lot of them went on to have other successful careers. I know a few doctors, played with a couple doctors on there, played with a couple lawyers. One guy I played with at Carolina, he used to, I don't know if he still works there, but he used to work in the airport here locally. He was like ahead of the in charge of the security throughout the airport and stuff like that. So you never know what road people would take, you know what I'm saying, once you leave college. Once that game is over, that horn sounds, man, you don't know which way you gonna go.
You just brought up there are some guys that are like, God, I'm glad this shit is over. And I'm starting to get the sentiment right now that this Carolina team in 2023 was so weighed down by the expectations. It's the first thing that a lot of them have alluded to, that maybe it was just overwhelming for us in the whole season. We were chasing last year's results and we never were here in the present. No one said that word for word. It's more my interpretation and comprehension of the way that they were trying to explain themselves what the hell happened, because this is an unprecedented disaster when it comes to blowing a season.
Very much.
And how do you put it into words? So I'm curious now for you to comment on, you are at several of these games this year. You have told us time and time again the strategies. You got to play through Mondo. You got to play through Mondo. Well, Mondo was hurt after the Boston College game. Is not out there in the second half against Virginia, nor would I think he was probably even going to be effective with the way the Virginia lineup was out there. And as a result, it just all kind of a house of cards in the wind. It just came crashing down. So I'll ask you straight up, just what the hell happened?
Well, first, we went from sugar to shit. Second, I hope guys do come back. I mean, and this is just me being a little selfish here about the school itself. I hope guys do come back to prove their character. Like, okay, last year we was in a championship game. Boom, we fell short. So this year we played like shit. We had a shitty year. We wasn't cohesive, nothing. So now, opposing to everybody going and transferring and disarray, I hope most of those guys or Hubert can keep that core team together, because that will show the true character of that team. Now, this year was a dogfight. This I see this whole year as one of those as that quote unquote dog days. You know how you got like a long ass day and you looking at the clock every 5 minutes wishing the day was over. To me, that's how this year was for the guys, because we were so roller coaster up and down. We go on a 2-game win streak, then we lose the team we shouldn't lose to out of conference. Then we get in conference and we losing, and we got these dogfights with teams that it shouldn't be. So what we need to do is just come together, have that cohesiveness, and I hope that the guys come back to show the country that, look, yeah, we were shitty last year. And boom, here it is. The same way we did a few years back when we lost the Villanova on the last second shot. Boom, they was hungry. They felt that loss. I bet you that locker room was quiet too. They felt that loss against Villanova. And what they do that next year, they came right back and they passed it and they won it. And maybe that's what this team can do. Maybe Hubert can get them together to try to get enough for that rally cry dogfight. Like, yo, let's go out here and do this shit one more time, man.
Do you think there was a sentiment to the Clippers are plagued by this as well in the NBA, that we know we're good, we'll just figure it out later? And let me give some context to that, because Carolina started off with 5 games against teams that, College of Charleston and whatever, they're fine, and I think some of them have actually beaten Carolina in the past, but they were mid-majors, and Carolina being the preseason number 1, they were heavy favorites in each of these games. They were also at home. They squeak out several of those, and people are starting to question whether this team is going to be as good this year as it was last. But because they hadn't technically lost yet before they got to, I think, the Big Ten ACC Challenge, and they were completely outmatched by whoever they played, there was that, again, that we'll kind of figure it out later. And then on Thanksgiving Day, Carolina played Alabama, and they lost in quadruple overtime. And now, considering Alabama is the overall number 1 seed, we look back and your woulda, coulda, shoulda. If they woulda won that win, that alone may have been enough. You put that in the bank and you can ride out the rest of the season knowing that you beat the number 1 overall seed on a neutral court. That win alone probably gets Carolina into the NCAA tournament with the season they had, even if it played out the same way, losing to Duke twice, losing in the quarterfinals of the ACC, but they lost. So then, Sheed, we get into this whole domino effect of, all right, the quadruple, good effort, we'll respond back. And the team just lost their first ACC game against Virginia Tech. Then you lose at a close game at Duke. Then you lose at NC State. Then you have the home game against Duke, that if you win this is your quad 1 win to get you in with the committee. And they just kept losing and never, okay, now's the time to we'll figure it out later. And you put it off for so long, trying to figure out between injuries and chemistry, and Caleb Love taking some really difficult shots and really never finding his efficiency that he had during the absolute J.R. Smith sun run of a March Madness that he had last year. He was looking for that all season. So all of those things just never came to fruition. And as a result, Carolina's in the first 4 out. So I think that's just, again, a long-winded way of me getting to the point that, do you feel like there was we'll figure it out later, and then later it came knocking and busted in the door?
Shit, we was the first four out about 2 months ago, according to Joe Lenardi and all of that shit. But yes, that's our problem. That's our problem. I've mentioned it to guys on the team in the past. Like, look, every game, more out of conference than in conference. But every game you play out of conference, if it's not going against another power school, that's that school's championship to play against Carolina. So you think that this school comes in here, beat us, we're just looking at it like, okay, whatever. But later on down the line, in your professional career, hey, you could be teammates with some of them, with some of the guys who beat you. You never know. Hey, somebody could be an asshole that see you in a restaurant or something. Yeah, we beat them. They wasn't shit. They was overrated. Da-da-da-da-da. Well, what can you say? And so that's one thing I've always told them. Look, you got to go out here and play every game hard because they going hard against you. This is their championship game for bragging rights. Now, when we go in conference in the ACC, okay, yeah, we're going back and forth because, you get to see them 2 times a year and then possibly, depending on who you match up with, in the ACC tournament. So you got at least 3 times to play against all the other schools in the ACC. But when you got that non-conference game, and it could be Christmas tournament, Thanksgiving tournament, or just, regular powerhouse matchups, like, yo, this they game. Like, y'all motherfuckers got to step up. But majority of the guys think that, look, we Carolina, you know what I'm saying? We got it like that. We was just in the finals last year, so y'all about to lay down for us, and we just going to run over. A lot of them teams like, no, they had some scrap in them. They had some fight in them. No, we want all this smoke. And that's the bell that we didn't answer a lot of the times this year, in and out of conference. And that's why right now we about to start watching.
So you, Rasheed Wallace, as an individual, as an alum of UNC, as one of the more memorable basketball players to have played at Carolina, I'm going to name some names real quick. Besides Rasheed Wallace, Antoine Jamison, Vince Carter, maybe not Jerry because he's head coach of Vanderbilt right now. Someone like Tyler Hansborough, Kendall Marshall, Marcus Page, Joel Berry. There are even a Sean May. Well, Sean May's on the coaching staff, so he doesn't apply to this question I'm about to ask you. But there are a lot of you Carolina veterans out there in the world right now. And I've heard you every time I ask you about Carolina basketball during the year, you're supporting like playing through Mondo and what you see. And now that it's all over, do you find yourself wanting to be in a position to maybe reach out to these guys and just based on your words of how you just responded before, being a biased Carolina supporter and wanting what's best for the program, if you truly believe that Carolina needs Mondo next year, would you try and reach out to him just to have a phone conversation? Or you're local to Chapel Hill, would you go over there and just shoot the shit with him, grab some lunch or something and try and convince him to stay? Because your words, your opinion will go further than any agent, anyone on TV, anyone on social media. You being a veteran that these guys look up to, jerseys up in the rafters with all those names I just mentioned. It's not that do you feel a responsibility to do that, but is it something you're interested in, and will it happen at some point?
Oh, yeah, I see the guys a lot. Throughout the season, all that, at the mall is right around here in the corner. I see them at the restaurants or inside the mall. It's a burger joint. I always see a few of the guys in the neighborhood. So that's not a big deal. But for me personally, no, I wouldn't tell Mondo I wouldn't definitely be 100% and tell him to stay in school. Because for me, I'm like, look, you have to do what's best for you and your family. The NIL deal he getting some good money, but it won't be like a rookie contract money. So with me, I would have to definitely say, look, it's there right now. That money is out there. Go get it. If you got to leave, then leave. Go get it. Because, you never know what can happen. It's a risk. Mm-hmm. It's definitely a risk. Like, if he comes back and, he wants to get that degree, nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? But it's a risk he's taking throughout that year. Like, okay, if I get hurt, and I do want to play basketball professionally after this, if I get hurt, my chances of doing that are slim and none. So it's a big risk people take. It's a big risk you got to take. But
Yeah, so let me keep probing on this real quick because yourself, Vince Carter, all those names I just mentioned were obvious first round draft picks, right? Carolina right now does not have an obvious first round draft pick. And we know the dynamics of the collective bargaining agreement in the NBA. If you get being in the first round means everything because you have a guaranteed contract. Then you get put on the rookie max extension scale. You're making millions no matter if you're 29th or first. You're locked in.
Yep.
If you get drafted in the second round, all you're guaranteed. Now, granted, some people get drafted in the second round and do just fine. But all you're guaranteed is a training camp invite. They send you to summer league. They can cut you at any time. It's at being an at-will employee. So with guys like, for example, Caleb Love, Armando Bacot, even the Leaky Blacks and the Pete Nances, I don't see them being taken in the first round anytime soon. So now if you see them at the mall, if you see them at lunch, and they're asking you about my field, like I've got a contract to go play in, name this European or Australian team here, right? That you can go like Brady Manick is currently. The conversation's a little bit different because if you know you're going to be a first round pick, there's no thinking about it. You take the money because you've earned it. You've earned that. But now the ultimate goal is the NBA and getting that big deal. And if that's not available right away, now there's more of a thought process of weighing like, well, do I need to go get professional experience? I'm thinking of a guy like Day'Ron Sharp that probably left a little early, but knew that he would get an opportunity at the end of the first round. Now he's getting minutes for the Brooklyn Nets, despite probably at the time looking like he was not the greatest decision in the world. It ended up being exactly the reason why he went out. So back to Mondo and the guys on the current team, I don't know if it's as obvious as like, well, I've got this big deal, or I come back to school and be a loyal Carolina. I love it here and I want to get my degree. That would be a much easier decision. But now it feels like he's genuinely torn by it because no one's running to give him $10 million up front of being the fifth pick in the 2023 NBA draft. So I don't even know if there's a question here. It's more of just this Carolina team is a lot different than some of those jerseys that you have. When I say you, I'm talking to you guys on YouTube that you've got in your closet right now that are Carolina guys that were at the top of the draft. That's not the case right now. So will they come back? I feel like they're going to be looking for that type of feedback from you, Sheed, from Vince, from all of these. Carolina, despite being those top picks, they can still get that feedback and constructive criticism because who else is going to tell them, Sheed, besides an agent or a manager, who's going to tell them you're not good enough to get drafted in the first round? But if you have offers from Australia and you're making millions of dollars, and what's your family situation? Do you have kids, right? I think it's going to be ultimately up to you guys to give them that advice that they will actually believe, as opposed to everyone with an agenda trying to make a buck off of them, or me as a fan being selfish, wanting Armando Bacot to come back because I think he's great for our program. I'm just a fan, right? I'll support him either way, but I have my own agenda. You have the experience.
Well, I guess for me, it would be like this. Depending on the family situation, would be depending on if I leave or not. And that was during my era. Now you throw the NIL shit in there. So you got guys, okay, so let's just use them for example. So we don't have nobody in the first round. So then that means second round, as we just said, you're not guaranteed. You're not guaranteed a roster spot. You're promised a trip to training camp. That's about it. But let's put that up against, and let's just say, I'm going to just throw a number out there. I don't know what he's making, but let's just say Mondo making $1 million in NIL. Well, I'm going to stay in school then, you know what I mean? Because shit, second round, it's not guaranteed. This NIL in school is guaranteed for me, whatever, how much ever he getting compared to, all right, well, I might get sent down to the D League. I'm be under a 2-way contract. Shit, I could be here today, going tomorrow. Oh, don't let me get hurt. If I get hurt, shit, I'm really assed out then. So you got a lot to think about. You know what I'm saying? Before it was just simple. Like, look, my family needed this help or was in dire straits. Boom, it's simple. I'm to the league. I'm out of here. This money is gonna help us. You know what I'm saying? Get right. If you that 4-year student and you got that good background and you got that mom and dad in that house, then yeah, you might stay in school for them 4 years. But this NIL, it makes it real tricky now, why? Because it's like shit.
That's why I asked.
I know I'm better than second round, so I'm gonna just stay my ass in school, work on my shit. Then next year, I know for sure I can be not only first round, but yeah, straight lottery.
So, in the final couple of minutes on the show, I do want to do just one little NBA segment with you that I prepared. Did you see this week that Draymond Green, who has a podcast, there was some shit talking going back and forth between him and Dillon Brooks. And Dillon Brooks gave some quotes. And at this point, I don't even need to explain what Dillon Brooks is or represents, but he's kind of this trying to become this generation's Draymond in a way before Draymond won his titles. And he had some comments about how Draymond is not whatever. They all leaked to the media. So what I would like to do with you, because the movie Kill Bill, there's a character named Paime. He's like the sensei who teaches them everything. You are the Paime of shit talking. So first of all, did you see this video with Draymond?
No, I didn't see that
Good.
one. I heard about it. But I didn't see it.
Good. So here's what we're going to do. So what Draymond does is he goes through each line of Dillon Brooks's almost rap battle verse, if you will, and he just flames him as to why each line is either wrong or why you're an idiot, and he gives an explanation. And I'm hoping that we can do a director's cut to the director's cut, and I'll have you either validate what Draymond is saying, or was Dillon Brooks right, and Draymond is just kind of defending himself. So can we re-rack this from the beginning and turn the volume up if possible? And if we can stop it after Draymond is done with each stanza, I'm going to ask Sheet to just give a very short, he's either out of pocket or he's dead on there. So let's fire it up and see how this goes.
He said, I don't like Draymond at all. You don't know me. I just don't like Golden State. I quite frankly wouldn't like a team that beats me all the time either. I don't like anything to do with them. Quite frankly, you were a little kid in high school watching us win championships. Should be happy that you even witnessed that. Or maybe college, but you get the point. You're a fan. Draymond talks a lot. You talk a lot now, so if you have 4 rings, sure, you talk a lot more.
See, there you go.
For All-Stars, you probably talk a bit more. Defensive Player of the Year, you for damn sure would talk more. 2 Olympic gold medals, you definitely would be talking, because that would mean you beat Team USA, and we all know how that goes. So gets away with a lot, too. What exactly do I get away with? I have 15 texts, 1 less than your dumb ass. Okay, great. His game is cool.
The league in texts.
If you ever wondered why the Memphis Grizzlies is not ready to compete for a championship, look no further than this idiot right here. They're actually depending on this guy to help them win a championship. And he says his game is cool. Quite frankly, that just shows how little you know about basketball.
Thank you.
And yet, you running around talking about a dynasty? The dynasty starts after you, not with you. He plays with heart, knows the ins and outs of the defense. I want to be quite frank, I made the ins and outs of our defense. I guess that's why they like him over there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out why they like you in Memphis. Or do they like you in Memphis? That's a better question. I'm not sure your teammates like you, but I can tell you why they like me over there. When you contribute in the way that I have contributed to 4 championships, they tend to like you. So next time you speak up on me, you should do some fact checking. Next time you speak up on me, you should do some soul searching. Next time you speak up on me, I hope you in a better situation than you in now, where the guys you play with actually enjoy playing with you because they actually think you're contributing to winning. Because it ain't happening right now, champ. You're not a champ. You're a clown. It ain't happening.
But no, he right though. He right though.
So
on a lot of the numbers, he right.
Right. So your point was before we watched the video that you shouldn't have to respond. You just show your rings. But he did that through vocal form saying, I'm a champ. I also have 15 techs. And it kind of put him in his place. Now, I think Memphis ultimately won that game that night, and they were out there celebrating like they just defeated them in a game 7 in the conference finals. But in terms of shit talking, I mean, was that good shit talking? I trust your opinion on this more than anyone else on this planet.
You know what? That wasn't even shit talking. That wasn't shit talking. That was fact talking. Because everything he said, well, majority related basketball wise, is fact what he said. Dre got 4 NBA chips, a couple gold medals, some depoys. His resume speaks for itself. Again, you see what the young fella's trying to do. The young fella wants to be in those shoes. He wants to be in that position. And it's the same way Draymond got started when he first came into the league, shit talking and this and that. But the difference, he was shit talking, but he was backing it up. That's the difference with a lot of people. If you shit talk, you got to be able to back that up. You can't just be out there running your mouth and this and that, and you ain't doing nothing or you're not contributing to the team. Nah, he can back it up.
Yeah, Dillon has an agenda, and it's to be the guy that ruffles feathers. Clearly, he knows he doesn't have a ring. He's not stupid, but he's saying these things because he feels like it's helping him and it's helping his team, regardless if he doesn't have the justification to do it. He doesn't care. He's just trying to create chaos. And every championship team needs one of those chaos creators, and he's trying to fill that role. It's kind of what Draymond did again before they started winning in 2015, 2017. He was vocal. Right. He was dirty plays before he had rings, and he was trying to plant their flag on top of the King's throne in who they were trying to conquer. So it's enjoyable, and the reason for Draymond doing it is because he has a podcast. He has a podcast that he's trying to create content for, the same way that we do a show, and he's trying to make good stuff, which he accomplished there. But to your point, all he really needs to do is I don't even need to deal with you. You're not even close to my level, but that doesn't make good content, Sheed. One little Instagram photo with 4 rings on is not going to get it done when you're getting paid money to do a podcast. So that's the age we live in nowadays. And before we let our audience go, I was hoping we might be able to do another quick segment of Respect the Game. Is there anyone, we talked about Corliss I can't believe we've said the word Corliss Williamson so many times in this program, but she'd always loves to educate us about a player that was either an inspiration for him, a colleague, someone he played against that maybe the viewers of this show may not be familiar with. So with that said, can we respect the game one more time?
Oh, yeah, and today's Respect the Game athlete is Corliss Williamson. So since we mentioned his name here so much and we saw him in the beginning of the show here in the clip, Corliss was a teammate of mine in Detroit, won a championship together. But before that, he was an adversary. I first met Corliss in Nike camp when we both were in high school. I think Corliss is 2 years ahead of me, 1 or 2 years ahead of me. So I was, of course, the younger kid. And I knew who he was just by Street and Smith's magazine and a lot of whole other basketball magazines throughout the country. So I knew who Corliss Williamson was. So I was like, damn, this and that. Seeing him, he was impressive at Nike camp. Then he went on to Arkansas, went there and won an NCAA championship. And again, like I said, he was my teammate in Detroit. And what made him so fierce, though, was he was undersized. Corliss, he was a big, strong dude. He was about maybe 6'8", but he was undersized. He played like a 7-footer. He rebounded like a 7-footer, hence his nickname, Big Nasty. He just got down and dirty down there. And Corliss overall, as a player, high IQ, had a good jump shot, played good defense, and he could put the ball on the floor. So during that time in the mid-'90s for college, that was pretty impressive. So for me, I like the way that his game was. He was the star of that show down there in Arkansas. And throughout the league, when he got drafted playing with Sacramento and playing with the different teams he played with in the NBA, he still made his name. He was a hell of an athlete as well. So I got to tip my hat to my guy, Corliss Williamson. He's one of few players to win an NCAA ring and an NBA ring.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, that is this episode of That's What She'd Said. Another segment in the books as well. Good one of respecting the game as well. That's the man, Rasheed Wallace. Roscoe, Rasheed Wallace. I'm Rob Perez, Worldwide Wob. I hope you guys enjoyed today's March Madness episode theme, whatever you want to call it. We'll be back same time, same place next week. Still got a lot to talk about in the world of hoops. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Make sure y'all get them brackets in. Get them brackets in.